My name is Scott Cunningham. I'm the host of the Merchant Mastery Podcast, and today we're in Los Angeles at Shopify LA. And I'm not gonna lie, this is my first time coming to this venue. It seems really cool. They have an amazing podcast studio that we're using, and I'm sitting down with an amazing Shopify entrepreneur named Ed Sanderson, and I just met Ed over like the last 10 days, and here we are together. We both traveled to get here. I traveled from the Great North up in Canada. It took me 2 flights to get here today. I left at 6 a.m., got here at around noon or 1 p.m. And Ed, where did you travel from to get here?
San Diego. It took about the same time.
It took about the same time. Okay, so you're driving through that LA traffic.
That's it.
Right? So Ed is an entrepreneur, as I said. He owns a fabulous Shopify store. I've gotten to know a little bit about it over the last week and even over the last hour. Why don't we kick that off, Ed, and just give us a little introduction to the name of the company and what it is you sell and what type of customer loves you the most. So name, what do you sell, who loves you the most?
Yeah, so the name of the company is IRS Cocktails. And our customers love us because they get a good quality cocktail at a reasonable price. And what I mean by that is if you're going to go and buy all the ingredients to make these cocktails, you go to the store and you're going to drop $100, $150 just to get the best stuff. So our philosophy is, why do all that? Why don't you just let us bottle it for you? You get exactly what you want and the consistent flavor and taste every single time. What was the other part of that question, Scott?
That's what you sell.
Yep.
Right. Who loves you the most?
That's it. Those are the people who love us.
Okay.
Entertainers, people who like to entertain, either husband, wife, significant other, and now that COVID is starting to kind of slow down and people can get back together, those are the people that love us. They can get 4 or 5 bottles, have a few people over, pour them, entertain. That's kind of our thing.
I'm not going to lie. This was like you're hosting, like I invited you here, but I feel like you're hosting me here. Is that kind of your thing? Are you a host?
Yeah, I'm a bit of an introvert by nature, so anything that can break the ice and have a conversation. And we had an event about a week ago, and I realized walking out of there is like we bring people together. It allows us to sit down, relax, and I realized adult beverages isn't for everyone, but people who like them, sit down, introduce yourself, meet new people, like we're doing here. We opened up a couple bottles.
I love it.
We poured a couple cocktails, relax a little bit, and then we get to chat. And that's kind of what we love about the brand. It looks cool, it tastes good, and people are starting to dig it.
This has got it. I'm not going to lie. Probably one of my favorite podcasts I've done in a while because first, we're in LA. We were from different places. We got to meet up here. But second, we're sampling the product right now.
Yeah, that's the cool part, right? I love it. That's kind of why we did it, which is what can we do? Like if you ever go to somebody's house, like what can you bring? And said, bring a bottle of wine or a 6-pack of beer. Nobody says, can you bring cocktails? So what's cool is you can go to an event or a friend's house and go, yeah, I picked up some cocktails. I want to try something new or something different. And that's really it. And that's kind of how it all came to be is like I like to entertain and have people over just to meet new people, even though I'm a bit of an introvert. My wife's an extrovert. So, we get to have a good time, play games, talk to people over a fireplace, that type of stuff. And when I started making cocktails, it's simple stuff. Rum and Coke, vodka soda, gin and tonic. There's nothing really sophisticated about that. But when I would go out to dinner or out to a bar, I'd get these really great cocktails. And I'm like, I want to make those at home. Well, the problem, like I said, is that the ingredients are usually very expensive. And after I have 2 cocktails, my cognitive measuring skills don't really function well. So you're mixing up cocktails, maybe you got a little bit of a buzz. And at the end of the night, people are leaving cocktails. And you're like, is it because they were full or did they taste horrible? Well, I fixed that problem by coming up with cocktails that are pre-bottled, so you just pour them, they taste good. You never have to worry about going, ooh, that was horrible, that tastes bad. So that's kind of the business that we're in.
This is an important piece. And you even asked me, you said, what was the part you just asked me, Scott? I didn't remember. Yeah. It's probably because it was kind of a bizarre question, right?
No,
I'm like,
not really.
Who loves you?
Yeah.
Right? Because I think, like, obviously I'm entrenched in the e-commerce space. I work with Shopify entrepreneurs in all different categories and backgrounds and industries and all that kind of stuff. And it really boils down, like, if you're going to go and sell products online, you really need to resonate with a specific type of customer segment and understand their pain points, their passion points, their aspirations, their little annoying nuances. Mm-hmm. And when you can hit it on the head with those, that's when everything starts adding up and the store starts going really well. And it sounds like you got a good understanding of who loves you. It's not the rum and Coke person. Yeah. It's not the super high-end cocktail person because you say they'll probably make their own?
Yeah, most of them have a pretty sophisticated bar. They have the money to invest in that. They've studied, they've experimented. That's their craft. That's what they do. When they have people over, that's what they're doing. They're making up cocktails. What we found was there's an audience out there that didn't have that skill set, didn't want to spend. I mean, to create a really good bar, you're into this deal for $500 to $1,000. And I had a bar, and my mom loves Kahlua. That bottle of Kahlua has been sitting in my bar for 7 years. She came, she visited, we made White Russians. That was it. I'm not going to use that for anything else. And we found is like, why don't we create a variety of different cocktails, and people can pick and choose what they want. We have big bottles, wine-sized bottles, 750 milliliters for bigger parties. What we're drinking here today is 375 milliliters. There's probably about 3 or 4 cocktails in there. And it's really cool. When you're done, you order something else and you keep moving on, or you keep ordering the same thing. We found when people start to like something, they kind of get into the habit of buying the same thing. What we want to do is go, hey, why don't you try something different and just give us feedback? And that's what we dig about this process. It allows people to try something without a huge, significant investment. Like I said earlier, if they don't like it, they're wrong, but at least they tried it and they can move on to something else. That's what we dig about the process.
Okay, so far it sounds like everything's a party. This all sounds amazing. Sounds fun. Like,
I'm with that.
right?
That's about right.
Right, everything's tasting really good. I just sampled this watermelon mezcal bitters. Was it?
Let me see here.
Right, this is
what we got. We got mezcal orange liqueur, cilantro serrano syrup, watermelon lime juice. So a little bit of citrus, a little bit of the watermelon to give it a cool, refreshing feel. I personally like a little smoke and heat. And that's the cool thing about our cocktails is they're really balanced. No spirit is going to overpower you. It's going to be balanced, and you're going to try to identify what flavors are in there. So back before pandemic, we do live events. We would ask people, like, help us, tell us what's in it. And it's kind of a fun game where they get to kind of try different, I think it's a little bit of this, a little bit of that. And the reoccurring theme is I hate going to a bar and getting a cocktail that's super spirit forward, that just is really strong, but I don't want it super sweet, and I don't want it super sour either. So we try to find our mixologist, his name is Ian, he does a really good job. We try to find balance in our cocktails. And we know not everything is for everybody, but we want them to have a good experience every time they try something. So they go, yeah, that's something I might want to reorder, or maybe have it set aside for a special occasion. So the one we're drinking, this is 13.2 alcohol by volume, which means 13% of this cocktail is mezcal. A couple of the other ones we're going to try a little bit more powerful, right? They're there to bring the spirit a little forward. So we got some refreshing stuff. We got some powerful stuff, some strong stuff. But really, like you said, it's about having a party. We're going to try 3 of them. That's a good afternoon. Try a little something. You lock into something you like. Guess what? We have a Shopify website where you can buy it.
I think business is a party when you love what you do.
And I do love it.
Right?
Yeah.
So that's kind of where I was going to go. Is like, it's so far, it just sounds amazing. Like, how can I get into your business? How can everybody live this? Right? So, but was it always like that? Like, did you just stumble into an amazing business that you were passionate about? Like, I know that you had a past life as an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
Was that a lesson that helped guide this business?
Well, it was a different business. So I was a consultant in the education space. I helped young men and women get into college and help their parents figure out how to pay for it. That was my job. It wasn't product-based. It was service-based. So it was a completely different shift. And I make the joke that when I work with young people and their parents in the afternoon, I need a couple of cocktails to calm down after working with these teenagers. But all joking aside, it was really about, my wife came to me and says, you're burning hours, you're burning the candle at both ends, you need a hobby. And I'm like, I don't have time for a hobby, I don't want a hobby. Together we got 5 kids. I mean, it's just hectic all the time. And she kept insisting, she's like, you gotta get a hobby. And I said, I wanna drive Porsches on the racetrack. I can't afford a Porsche with 5 kids, that's not gonna happen. And I'm like, I wanna fly a helicopter. She's like, we can't afford that either. She's like, you had played around with the idea of maybe doing something with vodka. So why don't you go figure out how to make a vodka? And I thought about it, and I was like, yeah, no, I'm not doing that. And so my wife, being as persistent as she is, she sets up a meeting with a guy who designs breweries and distilleries for a living. And we sit down for brunch, and he's like, so tell me about your concept. I was like, man, I don't really want some big, gigantic distillery. All I want to do is a place where I can make some good stuff, hang out with my friends, introduce people to new ideas and new concepts for cocktails. He's like, yeah, that's a pretty good idea. I had to make a couple telephone calls. Well, in the process of having that conversation, what I realized was I go to the store and I'll buy vodka, but now I still have to buy all the mixers and to go with it. Like, you got to put something together. I don't know two people who drink vodka straight.
Yeah, sometimes it's like 3 store visits if you're getting really specific with your ingredients, right?
Yeah, if they don't have it, you might have to go to another store to get what you want. And so I was sitting down with dinner with a friend, and we're having cocktails, and she's like, man, I really like this cocktail. And I thought to myself, that's the piece that we're missing. So what I originally thought was we shifted from distilling vodka to we want to make a cocktail kit where you get everything in the mail, you mix it up yourself. So I went back to my friend, and I said, hey, by the way, this is her cocktail. We made this for her. And this is the one we were drinking the night the business shifted. And I said,
wow.
Hey, if I put all that stuff in a box and I sent it to you and we mixed it up, would you be good? She's like, if I wanted to mix it up, I would do it myself. She goes, why don't you just put it all in a bottle? I'll buy a case of them from you for my next party, and we'll just pour them over ice and serve them. That's when the light bulb went on, and I was like, I think we got something here. And she's like, in fact, if you do it, I'll put money in. And I was like, well, now I know we've got it, because when somebody says we will put money in. So we decided, let's test the idea. So right before COVID, we had a party and invited colleagues and friends and clients, and we tested it, 2 different cocktails. And people went nuts. And so my mixologist is showing them how they make it. And I remember somebody coming to me saying, there's 35 people in the room. How are you going to mix cocktails for that many people? Well, we had already pre-batched it and mixed it so everybody can get their cocktails right away. 2 cocktails in, we had $6,000 in pre-order and 2 investors. So that's when you go, okay, not only do we have it, now we have to figure out how to deliver it. So we have another party, a month later, we get another couple $1,000s in pre-order, and we're like, we're cooking. And then COVID hits. And we realize we can't do parties anymore. So we were already starting to develop an idea about a website, but it was never to buy anything. It was just awareness. People could see what we're doing. And so somebody came to the table and said, hey, you know what? You might want to go e-commerce. And I was like, what's e-commerce? And they were like, it's like Amazon, but different. I was like, Amazon's not going to sell our stuff. We're a cocktail company. Don't sell spirits on there. It was like, right, so you got to make your own. And so that relationship did not pencil the way I thought it was going to, but they opened our eyes to a Shopify store. And then it got scary because then I had to kind of work in Shopify on my own. And that was a little nerve-wracking. But you know what was cool about Shopify is when I ran into challenges, I just typed in a little box and somebody would come on and walk me through stuff.
Of course.
And I realized it wasn't nearly as scary as I thought it was going to be. You can load up pictures and put descriptions in there and then dimensions and weights. And I'm like, this isn't horribly difficult. And then it was kind of baptism by fire. So I was trying to learn the e-commerce side of the business and bottling cocktails at the same exact time. So we were trying to wrestle with both of those things. But
at this point, have you made a sale yet?
Yeah, that first party,
okay,
we sold like $6 grand.
Okay, so you had some like organic sales from that first party. So
that's why we wanted to keep doing parties.
Right.
Like, people drink, you know what? They buy. So that's what happened. We were like, we're on our way. But when COVID shut that down, we were kind of like, we have to pivot, and we better pivot quick.
Yeah, I know you had the investors and the people endorsing the ideas. I wasn't sure if you actually sold some units, but you did. Okay.
Yeah. And then a corporate company came to us and said, hey, I saw your stuff at your party. We want to send gifts out to some of our employees, some of our customers. Would you be willing to put it together before? That was technically our first order we delivered. That was like 5 cases. And we kind of printed up some labels and cut them out ourselves and put them on the bottles. And I mean, we just started designing labels. We weren't even in the business yet. So then we knew we were onto something.
That's a good problem to have when the demand is there.
Not if you don't cut good with a pair of scissors. Yeah, no, that's when we realized this, guy. It was one of those situations where we knew we're onto something. What we were supposed to do with it, we didn't know that, or how we were going to develop it through COVID. We had no idea how to do that either. And then now you're dealing with regulation and spirits, and now you're learning all that stuff. So I'm learning e-commerce, I'm learning distilling, I'm learning packaging, bottles. You're learning all this stuff that you never thought you were going to have to figure out.
Still a party?
No. It was a party in this regard. I was super excited about it. I mean, I'd be out in the, juicing lemons and juicing limes and juicing watermelon, and I didn't resent it. Because sometimes in business, you get into that stuff, the nitty-gritty stuff, that you can't hire somebody for. You actually have to go do the work. And I was happy to do it.
It sounds like with your old business, you weren't speaking so passionately about that. Now there's this whole new level of passion and drive. And
you know what it is? It's kind of getting a shiny new car. Listen, I had a lot of satisfaction getting kids into college and getting free money for them to go and the appreciation of that. But I've done that for 18 years. And I still do it because it pays the bills. But this was just something new and exciting. And like I said earlier, I'm 53. I started this when I was 50 years old. And at least conceptually around 50. And it just gave me a creative, new, exciting lease on life. And that's what I needed at that time, just to have something new, something exciting, something to dig teeth in and learn a couple lessons and then apply some of the things in business that you've already learned. But truthfully, it's a completely different animal. I mean, e-commerce is a whole, product sales is different than consulting. And, you're selling vapor. There's no deliverable except you, right?
Yeah.
So that's a different animal to get all together. So so it's a party. Sometimes those parties go late and I don't get to drink enough, but that's all right. I make up for it.
Yeah, you're sticking to it. So talk like how did it go with the e-commerce? You're learning how to use Shopify. When did you make your first sale on Shopify?
Not long after, because we had a small email list that we had developed, and we sent the word out that the site was up. And my wife said this morning. She goes, her favorite sound is when the phone goes ching.
Everyone loves that sound.
Yeah.
You're not alone.
Yeah. So I'd have to say we were probably about, pandemic started in March, right? And so I think right around May, we got our first order online.
All right.
Yeah.
Someone you knew?
One person I knew. It all happened the same day, and someone I didn't even know. So because we're nosy, my wife originally from Arizona, and the order came in from Arizona, and I'm like, do you know this person? She's like, no. So we don't know who they are. My gut tells me somebody sent the email to somebody else, and they ordered. And that's typically what happens. Somebody will go, I heard about you from. I saw you from this, and I heard you on that. And I went to your store, and I thought I would try it. So that's typically how it goes. But we do have a lot of regular customers that reorder all the time.
So that's like 3 years ago when you made that first Shopify sale?
No, that would have been 2 years ago,
2 years
right?
ago.
So conceptually, we started about 3, kind of putting pieces together.
Right. Oh, right. Right around May is when you made the first Shopify sale, 2020.
Yeah, yep.
Okay, so what's been going on? Like, did you, when you got the first Shopify sale, were you like, okay, e-commerce is going to be a thing?
Yeah, it had to be a thing because I couldn't do a party or open a place. It was cost prohibitive, plus the pandemic.
Did you ever think about like wholesaling?
No. No, because there's too many layers, and I hate to say this, but I'm kind of greedy. I want to keep as much of the profit as I possibly can, and direct to consumer was the only way to do that. And when you're a small startup, there's not much to spread around as it is. And at the same time, when you're doing distribution or wholesale, now you have an inventory challenge, which is, it's not like you can make a couple cases, you got to make a couple pallets. And that's a significant investment to capitalize that. And that's not really where we wanted to spend our money. What we wanted to spend our money on was getting it into the hands of people, letting them try it, prove concept, get some revenue generated, and then specialty retail, wholesale maybe, but that wasn't our focus.
Would you say like when you first started that you even considered the e-commerce, or you were just going to be like the touring the party people?
It was party time.
Yeah.
We were going to go party to party to party, and we were going to open up a small tasting room and party. E-commerce wasn't even on our radar.
Is party back on the business model
It's
with things opening up?
Pop up. Yeah, we had a party. What did you say, about 3 weeks ago? And we have one in 2 weeks ago. I'm old. 2 weeks ago, and then we have another one coming in 2 weeks.
Excellent.
Yeah, but all of that still is about going to the website, because you can have a party and you can have a couple cocktails. But you're not pouring. We have like almost 12 labels now, so you're not pouring all 12. So what they do is they go, hey, I like what I tasted. I want to buy it. And go, here's a coupon that you can use to buy it online. They go buy it, and then we fulfill the orders there. So that's it. One feeds the other, but honestly, I really don't want to have a big footprint, real estate, overhead, all that stuff.
Right.
That's just a pain in the neck. So little space for production, maybe a little tasting room down the road. But why not get together with your friends, and they get to invite a friend, and that's how we do it. It's like, you come, you bring a friend. And we build that email list, we build that product loyalty, and then they jump on the site and they buy.
So far, it sounds like there was never, like, it's been pretty fun and like trending in the right direction.
Yeah.
You haven't felt like giving up on this business yet?
Never going to happen.
All right.
No way, no how. This is it. This is the future.
Persistence.
Yeah.
Conviction.
And I'm not saying it's easy, because if it was easy, everybody would do it. I like the challenge of it. I like putting pieces of a puzzle together. I like, okay, we got a little bit of a roadblock here. How do we get over that, through that, or around that? And this allows me to have that experience, because sometimes when you come in from outside of an industry, I'm not an industry person. I've never sold a bottle of spirits, never done anything in cocktails. You look at things a little bit different. Sometimes when you're in the industry, you're just like, that's the road we have to travel, therefore that's the way we go. And I guess it's kind of like the Elon Musk thing. It's like, you're bringing something to the table and you're trying to do it in a completely different way than it's ever been done before. And because of that, there are going to be challenges. And that's the stuff that I get excited about, because I think anything that's worth building is going to have setbacks, roadblocks, and challenges. And it wouldn't be a good idea if it didn't.
Are you getting a lot of feedback from customers that are kind of blown away by this new innovation?
Yeah. Well, they're blown away that I came up with. But yeah, the feedback from our customers is really important to us. So when we do tastings or we send stuff out, the idea is to get their feedback. So before we go into full-blown production on anything, we let them taste it and we let it try it. And then we said, okay, we've got these big bottles. If we were going to make a smaller bottle, what size? And we get their feedback. And what you guys are looking at here today, this is half of the size of a normal bottle. And the feedback was, we want to be able to travel with them. We want to be able to give them away as gifts. If we had something in that $25 to $35 range, that would be comfortable for us. If you went in that direction, that would be really great. We'd be into it. So that's how we innovate. We listen to our customers and we let them try stuff, and they go, that's a winner. So 2 of our cocktails are about ready to get released. We're all driven by people sampling something. So they get an order, we'll send them a sample of something else, go, hey, try this and let us know what you think. They give us the feedback, we get enough of that feedback, then we go to the process to bottle it.
This is a brilliant strategy, and I actually harp on this a lot.
Yeah.
Is like the only way to, like, even with everything that's happening in the industry, if you I don't know how much ads, we haven't got into like your tactical strategies and stuff like that, but if you're advertising online, there's all these new things coming down the pipe, like regulations with the iOS, regulations with Google. Mm-hmm. The only way to like pierce through all these regulations and just enjoy the longevity of the business is really catering to your customer segment.
Yeah.
So I talked about this earlier, like speaking of the aspirational state. Well, what better way to understand what that is than to ask them?
You have to. And that's probably when we first started, Scott, that's what got us on the map in the first place. It was, we asked people what they wanted. And we delivered to them what we thought they said. They asked us to make a couple of pivots and changes along the way. But if you make something because you think it's great, you're probably going to fail because you're the only person buying it or the one interested in it. If I have a concept or an idea like this one, if I don't get feedback from people, I'm ignoring the people who are going to be willing to spend money. And then you start to talk to them about strategically how they want to take the product in. So originally when we started, we were like, oh, we're going to do all these memberships. Well, the problem with a membership is that you're forcing them to do something whether they want to or not. What they really, when we kind of polled them on that, they said what we really want is to be able to buy something, send us a discount coupon, and we'll do something. So we tried that. We said, okay, here's what we're going to do. If you spend $100, we'll give you $25 off any order. And by the way, can you do a survey for us? If you do the survey, we'll give you the discount coupon. And we did that, and there was $1,000 in the bank like that. So what we're realizing is that small sample size is intrinsic to growth. If you do not listen to what your customers want and give them the opportunity to have ownership and input on what you're doing, then you're walking down a path that could backfire. So everything we do is typically, so what do you think? And what would you do? And how do you feel about this? Even design work, even naming cocktails, we asked them, like, hey, we're doing a little contest. Here's what's in it. You taste it. We're looking for feedback. They love being part of it. It almost allows them to own the brand and be part of it. And then they're your cheerleader, and they go, now they're willing to tell other people about it. So our next party that we're doing, those were all people that were not in our database, that were referred to us by somebody else. And I shouldn't say that. I'd say about 25% have bought. The other 75% of people coming are their friends that have never bought because they want them to have an experience.
We call this, what you're talking about right now, this is an insider strategy.
Oh, cool.
So if you want to do like a product launch,
Yeah.
get the input of your raving fan base.
Yeah.
Right? And then they have buy-in at every step. Hey, we're thinking about the label. Which one do you like? Okay, perfect. We went with that. What name do you like? We went with that. What ingredients do you like? And by the end, it's like, hey, raving fan base, we manufactured this product together. You were a part of that. And now we're going to do a little pre-sale and you get 10% off. And then you can pre-sell the products before you even create them.
Yeah, and I think that's even part of our growth strategy when we go to raise. We'll give people the opportunity to name cocktails, design their own cocktails. We don't want money just to have money. We want money and we want growth because people believe. And we kind of like the idea that we start a little bit slow because it allows us to measure each step in the process without over-committing. My friend says, don't get over your skis, whereas like you hit the ground, you're gonna crash. And we just want to be strategic in those decisions. And quite frankly, my wife and I aren't rich, so we're kind of want to do it incrementally. And I was listening to a podcast that you did, and you were talking about people go crazy trying to put all this money into advertising instead of building their base first, getting the commitment from their customers, and then starting to move forward and leverage that, and then using that as an opportunity to invest into marketing and all that other stuff. So we're learning. And we're growing at the same time, so it's been kind of cool. That's the party part that I like, is seeing people get excited about what we do.
So there's gonna be a part 2 here. I think we should like take a breather and maybe sample another
You're not gonna have to
another drink here, and so let's do that. We'll take a little breather here, but when we come back, we'll have a new cocktail in our hand, and we're gonna hear about where you got the name IRS Cocktails from, because I heard there's some some intrigue behind that backstory.
There's always a good backstory.
All right. Back from our break here. I'm with Ed Sanderson from IRS Cocktails, and in our break we got to sample some of your amazing creations, and I gotta say, as someone who appreciates fine cocktails, I'm blown away by what you're able to package in these bottles. And while we were on our break, we tried the old fashioned, and can you give us a little bit of background just to tell everybody else how award-winning it is and how renowned it is?
I want to emphasize one thing. I am not a cocktail designer. That's not what I do. I'm a passion guy, and I dig really cool ideas. So that cocktail, it's called High Maintenance. And what we did is we when we did our little tasting party, I think we talked about that last time, one of the guests said, hey, I've got an idea for a cocktail. And I think I mentioned to you that she's like, if you put in a bottle, I'll invest in your company, which made that a very easy decision. So they came up with a cocktail that they really liked at a restaurant. And so they bought all the ingredients. They tried to make it themselves, and they were struggling with all the combinations. So our mixologist, we call him a cocktail zealot because he is like passionate about it as well. We brought him over to start designing this cocktail. So they had all the ingredients there. And I think it's important to note that the ingredients for this cocktail, if you're buying everything off the shelf, is depending on what you're getting, it's somewhere between $140, $170 to buy all the bottles you need to make this cocktail. So that was the appeal of this process, which is you're buying some whiskey, you're buying some bourbon, you're buying, we got bitters in here. We got, what'd you call it? I call it the wrong thing. A cordial.
Cordial.
That's what cool people call it. And so after 2 tries, he nailed it. And then it's like, that's it, put it in a bottle. And what we realized was that it still came back to the same thing, which is she did not want to figure out how to make it. So she has a really big family. She likes to entertain. What she really wanted was, I want to buy 6 of these bottles, and I want to have them ready to go when I have people over. So we did that, and then it was time to name it. Well, since they put the money and they bought it, they named it. And that's another cool thing that we do is we can make cocktails specific for people, for their business, anything they want. If they've got passion about what their cocktails need to be, and if we can put in a bottle, we'll do it. So that's the origin of that particular cocktail, but that's kind of how we do everything, which is we take something that we like, and our cocktail zealot, Ian, will kind of put a spin on it, a unique spin. And I think the comment from you guys was, good solid cocktail, right out of the bottle. I never thought it could come out of a bottle like that. And that is where we win. As soon as somebody tastes it, they go, I can't believe you got that in a bottle. And then they pull out their credit card and they go. So
I think one of the stories I told you was I'm friends with some amateur mixologists
yeah.
who buy all the ingredients. They buy the giant cocktail book, and then they focus on 1 or 2 cocktails and use some of the ingredients, but they're always replacing ingredients.
Yep.
Like it's a never-ending cycle of, we can't make this because we're missing this, and we need to buy this, so therefore we have to make that.
Yeah.
So it's an expensive hobby.
Absolutely it is.
Right? But with this, you're getting some of those like really high-end ingredients that are hard to find packaged up for you consistently.
Exactly. That's
right?
exactly right.
I love it. What you told us that the Old Fashioned was award-winning?
Yeah, so we last year we decided to put a few of our cocktails in competition. This one is a gold winner of the San Diego Spirits Festival. The one you tried at the beginning, a Hotter Melon, was a double gold winner at San Francisco Spirits Competition. That one is actually pretty prestigious because if you get a double gold, that means the 5 members of the panel all gave you gold. So when you get gold from everybody, that's a double gold.
It's like The Voice when everyone turns around their chair and they
I love it. So this year we're going to do 3 more. The Manhattan that you guys tried is going up. We have a Bloody Mary that is out of sight, vodka and Mezcal. If you don't get this by now, I love Mezcal. I like smoke.
Yeah.
And then a hibiscus margarita, which our tribe has said that they love it. So we got 3 more going up San Francisco next month.
Amazing. I think I saw someone on your website that you also were voted like number 2 on USA Today.
Yeah, so that one is not USA Today going, we recognize you. What you have to do is to get people who dig what you do to vote. And as we were talking about in the break, we have a tribe. And so we put the word out to our tribe. In fact, our call sign is like join the flock. So they feel like they're part of something. Yeah. And we go, you guys have to vote, and you got to vote every single day. And that got us to 2nd place in USA Today. So we were in the top 10. And then we got to 2nd place. So that's pretty good for a small upstart brand. So people are excited about what we do, and they really get involved in supporting us.
Listen, I don't even think you can build a brand or an e-commerce store without like the community, the support, the raving fan base. But it starts there. They're validating you by not just saying, good idea, Ed, we're your friends, we're your neighbors. They're pulling out their wallets and they're buying and they're ordering, right? So you got that like local community validation. You got the raving fan base. They're bought into the direction of the company. They're guiding the future direction of your products. That's like incredible stuff. But beyond that, you're getting validation outside of your local neighborhood. You're getting validation from the San Francisco local award show and USA Today and all these other organizations are saying, yeah, you guys are onto something.
Yeah, and I think that's important because if you say it's good, that's one thing. Your fans say it's good, that's even better. Somebody outside of your circle says it's great, that's when people will go, well, if they won an award, how bad could it be? Oh, USA Today? Well, that's pretty good. Maybe we should try it. And so we're using those opportunities to create momentum centered around specific cocktails and ultimately the brand.
That's incredible. I think so far it sounds like you've built like this, like I can't emphasize how much what you're saying is resonating with me, because I don't think you should, like, when you think about e-commerce, you think about ads, emails, all these tactics like Facebook ads, Google ads, YouTube ads, but those things aren't going to really have an impact unless you've like built a really strong brand with a proven track record and like a initial community. Yeah. So you've done that. One thing we didn't explore during our conversation is like, when did it go from like getting a few orders from like your neighbors or your neighbors' friends or word of mouth to like starting to see some like consistent sales week after week from people you don't know?
That took a little while because, like you said, we weren't spending money on ads. We tried Facebook and we did okay. Not great. We did okay. Google AdWords didn't really do anything for us. So what it ended up being was that people who tried it and believed in the brand, they were buying stuff for friends and family. Those folks were going to our website. So that took, 3 to 6 months to get other people who weren't just our friends to buy. And it came just from what we're doing here today. It's like they gave it away as gifts. They let people try it. They went to the website and they bought. And so there was one company, that one gal who really was excited. She's like, hey, if I want to get my employees to buy, can you give us a discount code? So we created a discount code in Shopify, gave it to her, and then her employees started buying. So she gave it to them as gifts. Here, thank you, year-end type of deal. And then she was like, I could see that coupon code come through. And that's the kind of stuff that we're trying to do, is we're trying to incentivize our flock to get their friends and family to try it. And that's not the fastest way, but we don't have hundreds of thousands of dollars to throw at marketing. So we have to do it more on a grassroots level. And by doing that, that's how we were able to expand and grow the brand.
You're going to have success with Google and Facebook. Mark these words from me right now. Those aren't the issues. Yeah. I think it's most of the businesses that I see that are kind of struggling at that early stage, they're usually saying like, come on, I just need it. They're not doing that hard work. They're not doing the groundwork of building the community, speaking to your customers, building an initial customer base. Yeah. So you're doing like all the right things that nobody else is doing. But we always advise, it's like you have to build an organic community if you're going to go and scale it with ads.
Yeah, and I have to ask myself, do I want to give Google and Facebook and Instagram my money, or do I want to give it to my customers to give to other people? I mean, we give a lot of samples away. We let people try it. I'd rather give them $5, $10, $20 worth of product to let them try it, and then they help us spread the word, because it looks pretty. It's a great looking bottle, but you're not going to believe it until you try it. So our advertising campaign is to invest in our flock, is to give them the opportunity to share with other people.
Let me take back what I said. I said you will be successful with Google or Facebook. Let me change that. You could be. Yeah. You could be. You maybe don't need to. I know multi-million-dollar e-commerce brands that don't do any advertising, and they focus on like affiliates and publishing and all these kinds of things. So there's a lot of avenues you can go. But wow, what a remarkable base you've built for your business just through validation and word of mouth and making amazing products. Like I think it's, with the e-commerce, a lot of the times people don't like to admit that they have an ugly baby. Yeah. Yeah. Like sometimes the baby just ain't gonna, win a pageant. But your product's winning pageants, and we're trying it here today, and we're blown away, and our palates are overexcited. So I think you've done a really good job there.
Cool. I'm glad you enjoy it.
I have a couple things before we close out today. So the first thing that I wanted to ask you, I've been hearing so much about this background about the name IRS Cocktails. Yeah. Can you lay it on us here?
Yeah. So it's got a couple layers to it. So when we decided that we were going to do the brand, and my wife's like, yep, I'm going to green light this. We're going to do it. Now we had to figure out what to name it. And just like you start throwing around names and you're like this and that, and nothing really grabbed our attention. So then one day I go and get the mail and I see a letter from the IRS, and I realize that any letter that comes from the IRS is usually bad news. It's either they want to audit you or they're going to send you a bill. You never get good news from the IRS. And I said that to my wife. I'm like, you never get good news from the IRS. Wouldn't it be cool if you got something from the IRS that was actually really good? And that was the genesis of IRS, which is you'll finally get something from the IRS that you want and that you're going to enjoy. So even in our packaging, the first box we made, when you open it, it says you've been served. And the idea behind that is what can we take something that is perceived to be negative and make it a positive? And then it was, okay, now that you have that, it has to mean something. What does IRS stand for? So, exclusive to your audience, we only usually say this and let our members know what this is about. So IRS is an acronym. The I is ignorant, R is rebellious, and S is spirits. Because when we started this brand, we had no freaking idea what we were doing, so we were ignorant. But we believed in it because we're a bit of rebels, and we stand behind the spirits we put in our bottles. And so that kind of took a life of its own. So back to the tribe, we asked them what they thought IRS stood for, and we got all these ridiculous answers, but it keeps them engaged and involved in the process. And it was really cool.
The flock.
Yeah, the flock is big for us. And so that was it. And so when we designed the logo, we kind of wanted to look like it was a government badge. And so I sent it to my attorney for trademark. He's like, I don't know if we're going to get this through. I don't know if it's going to make it. But we got it back, and I'm like, I dig it. That's really cool. So, that's really what it was about. It was about a few guys who really didn't know much about what they were doing, but we were arrogant enough to think that we could do it. And as I was telling you guys on the break, we're about 5 guys sitting around a table drinking cocktails and pounding the table, and we're going to be these bad A guys, and we're going to be irreverent, and we're going to be, ridiculous. And I brought it home to my wife. She's like, yeah, I like that, but you need to soften this up a little bit. And so she added her 2 cents. She does all the photography, a lot of the design on the label work, and she helped us round out the brand. And that was a good decision because the ladies, they're the ones who buy our product. The women, when we look at our demographics, women business owners, they drive the sales of our product, like to the tune of about 70%. So like they like the brand, they like the story, but they also like the fact that it looks good on the shelf and it pours well too. So we got a little fortunate, and good thing my wife knows a little bit about photography and a little bit about marketing, so she was able to help correct that thought for me. Otherwise, we thought we were selling to a bunch of guys like us, but we weren't. We were selling to women, and women are the ones who buy our product.
You have a good vibe, Ed. We started off saying, like, it's a party. You just turned the IRS into a party.
Yeah. It's a good story. And it's some things happen for reasons. That happened for a reason, and we liked it, and so we went with it.
Big fan. You've grown a couple big fans here today from sampling the product and just hearing the whole story. I want you to leave with one piece of advice, and I don't know if you're up for it, but for an early stage Shopify store, somebody who's got the heart, they have something they're passionate about. What's your advice to them to kind of grow their business?
Well, you said it. I mean, you got to have passion about what you do. I'm a big believer in what we do, and it's what keeps you up at night, and it allows you to go to the distillery and work when everybody else is sleeping. It allows you to kind of process ideas. You have to have passion. If you don't have it, then don't get into business. Just don't. Because if you're thinking you're going to turn a profit and it's going to be immediate, you can forget about that idea. I mean, there's some unicorns that do that. Most businesses don't. The other thing you got to do is you got to get people to buy in. You got to kind of test it. Does it resonate with an audience? We were pretty fortunate. Our first party, it resonated with people. And it wasn't that the cocktails it wasn't about the cocktails, it was about the response. Like the first one we did was a gin cocktail. And we never told people what were in the cocktails. We wanted them to guess what was in it. We wanted them to be part of it.
Yeah.
And I want to say 3 people came up to me and said, hey, I don't like gin. And when I was in college, I got sick on gin. I swore I would never drink gin. I like this product. It's done really well. And like we talked about, they demonstrate that with their credit card. They're like, not only do I like it, I'm going to buy
Validation.
it, right? And you need that input from the very beginning. So you got to kind of test stuff. There were no bottles. There were no labels. It was just, we're going to get people to try it. And if you can get people to try it and they give you feedback, and that's all we ask for is honest feedback, they give you direction, they give you focus. And then you got to make sure you allow them to be part of that process. If you're thinking about changing a product or innovating a product or coming out with a new cocktail, allow them to be part of that process, because ultimately they're the ones who are not only going to buy, but they're going to get their friends and their families to buy. And so that's really it. And you just have to be patient. And I'm not a technology guy, but you better get comfortable being uncomfortable with technology. You better invest in that side of the business, particularly if it's e-commerce. And Shopify's got some really great tools. I mean, the one that's been the best for us is we use a company called ShipStation. It integrated directly into Shopify. And when I was struggling with it, ShipStation was with me on the phone. Shopify's with me on the phone. I'm like, oh, they're going to try to hit me up and make me go to Shopify Plus. No, the gal's like, it's going to cost you $99 to implement it. It's going to cost you a couple extra bucks a month. And I found that refreshing, that they were there to help me. And until it was done and it was working, she stayed on the phone with me. And that's the kind of support that you're looking for. So you've got different things you've got to tackle. Technology is not my thing, but having a retail store, an e-commerce store that has the support that allows you to do that on your own, that's what you need. Because we had somebody designing for us, and they just weren't delivering, so we had to take it over and do it on our own. Man, those were some tough nights trying to figure out where to put the pictures and how to write the stuff. You know, I was really nervous, and I still am when I open up my Shopify account. But those folks over there made it really easy. So you got to believe in it. You got to accept that the world is going e-commerce, and you got to make a commitment to it.
I think like it could be daunting. A lot of those things could be daunting. But if you have that passion, it kind of keeps you going, right? Mm-hmm. Can I add one more thing based on what I think of you?
Yeah.
Have fun.
Oh, yeah, I'm down for a good time.
Let's do that then.
Yeah, if it's not fun, it's going to be very difficult to keep it going because it's going to be challenging. If you don't enjoy it, you're going to be in trouble. You know, you've got to believe, you've got to have fun, and you've got to have good partners. I mean, my wife is fantastic. My mixologist is great. And these are people who have day jobs. They are like obsessed about what we do. They're willing to commit evenings and weekends to it. And that's the other side of it. If you're not having fun, like you said, and you don't have passion for it, it'll die.
A line we often use is like embrace the crazy. Because sometimes it's perception. You could think that, wow, everything is getting so wild and I just want to like curl up in a ball and not leave my place for 3 days.
I've had those moments.
Or I just kind of groove with it and say, okay, you know, this is today.
Yeah.
And we're just going to keep plowing ahead. We're going to, stick with our passion, stick with our positivity, and move on. And then you kind of get over that thing and you're on to another thing. So you kind of just have to embrace it all as it comes along.
Yeah, for sure. That's great advice because that's what it takes. There were days, like I told you before, where I'm juicing limes and watermelon, and I'm like, that ain't fun. But what it does do is you realize if nobody's buying it, you don't have this problem. And we're not at a place in our company where we can outsource all that stuff. You have to do it yourself. Yeah. And when you don't resent it and you're actually like having fun listening to music and you're doing it, and when you get that spark of creativity where you're like, oh, this is good, we're on the right track, that refills the tank and allows you to keep going.
Ed, this has been really, really profound advice. I think you're taking a really good methodical approach to growing your business. I'm sure anybody listening here today has walked away with a couple great takeaways. Where can anybody that's listening get your product? Do you deliver?
Yeah, so, I mean, we deal with regulations like a lot of other businesses right now. We're in California in a handful of states. You can check it out on our website.
The URL is?
IRScocktails.com. IRScocktails.com.
And if you're in California, easy to get. Other states coming soon, perhaps?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, as we start to grow and expand. Our goal was to get things dialed right here in our home state. See if we've got the right juice to keep it going, and we're hoping to expand in other states pretty soon.
You got to be the governor before you become the president, right?
Exactly. That's exactly right.
All right, Ed. Thank you so much for sticking with me today and sharing all your...
Hey, Scott, I appreciate you having us. I appreciate it a lot.
You betcha. All right, everybody. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you again really soon.